Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. Today is our Week 2 NFL Best Bets video. So we're going to be looking at every NFL matchup for Week 2, focusing on the best bets portion. That's the spreads, the money lines, and the over-unders. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I will make sure to respond. We go over the spreads, money lines, and the over-unders for every NFL game every week, and we also do the same thing for every single college football game every week of the 2024 season as well. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to follow along. So as I mentioned, Week 2 is here. We have a bunch of games coming up Sunday. We have one Monday night game. We already had the Thursday night game. The Bills beat the Dolphins. That was an upset. Vegas was favoring the Dolphins. We were not surprised because earlier this week we did predict the Dolphins to go down and for the Bills to be victorious. Hopefully Tua gets better soon. He might have to sit out the whole season, but then that could have also been his last game. But let's go ahead and get things started looking at our very first game on Sunday. We have the first matchup Sunday at 1 p.m. on Fox. We have the 1-0 Saints visiting the 1-0 Dallas Cowboys. We all know that Dallas at home is an extremely tough team to beat. It's virtually impossible to beat Dallas in Jerry World. Dallas here is a 6-point favorite. The over-under is 46.5. Dallas's last week, they were feasting in Week 1. They had 6 sacks just last week alone. They were going off. Look for a big game for Micah Parsons here for the Saints. They're coming off of a 47-point game. It's been a while since the Saints have scored 47 points. They had an anemic offense last season, but they have playmakers. They do not have a bad roster. You have Carr, you have Kamara, you have Olave. There's playmakers there. Carr just has to be efficient with the ball. Don't have too many turnovers. They do not have a bad defense at all. Saints a very good team, but just because you scored 47 last week, that's not the caliber of team you're playing here in Week 1. Dallas is loaded. Dak Prescott did not have to do too much last week, but this is their home game here. They have CeeDee Lamb. They have a top 5 defense, a top 10 offense. I have Dallas winning this one 30-14, covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under here. The next matchup we're moving on to at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 1-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the 1-0 Detroit Lions. The Lions here are 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 51.5. This is going to be a really good game. This is two teams that made the playoffs last season. This is two playoff caliber teams this season. Tampa Bay last week looked great. They have a great run defense. They have a solid defensive line. Baker Mayfield had 4 touchdowns last week. He was my comeback player of the year last season, and he lit it up in Week 1, had 290 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. And they have playmakers up and down the field, including one of the better wide receiver cores. You have Evans, you have Godwin. These are veteran, experienced wide receivers that he can throw the ball to, and he can be confident that they're going to come down with the catch and extra yards. And then you have the Detroit Lions. This is a team that could have made the Super Bowl last season. They just barely missed out. A very talented team. They have a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. They're very well-rounded. They can beat you passing the ball. They can beat you running the ball. Goff had a great season last year, and they are loaded. They have Montgomery, they have Gibbs, they have St. Brown. They have multiple playmakers that they can get the ball to, and they're at home. But you don't want to overlook Tampa Bay. This is kind of a sleeper potential upset game here. Two very good teams, two playoff teams. I'm going to go with the Lions winning this one, 30-24. So that would not be covering the spread, but I will be going with the over here. However, this game kind of concerns me because I could see this being a 50-50. This game could go either way. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 0-1 Colts visiting the 0-1 Green Bay Packers. Both teams are in search of their first win of the 2024 season. The Colts on the road here are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 40.5. This could have been a game where we got to watch two of our young quarterbacks in the NFL, but obviously Jordan Love got knocked out last week, and I think he's set up right now to be missing about 4 to 6 weeks as of this point. So he's obviously not going to be playing this game. They're going to be rolling out Malik Willis. So the Green Bay Packers offense was not an elite offense before. They were a good offense, but now they lost their quarterback, the face of the team, their field general, the guy they just gave a massive contract to. He's gone. Willis is stepping in, so expect to see a massive drop-off with the Packers offense. They're going to look to try to keep the ball on the ground, just try to run it over and over. But the Colts are basically going to do the same thing. So they have Anthony Richardson coming in. He is a running mobile quarterback. We didn't get to see him too much last year. He had a decent week 1. He's going to look to follow that up with a Packers team without their quarterback. Try to get that win here. Try to get things started. They have a decent run game. They have Brandon Jacobs. They have Jonathan Taylor. He has veteran weapons that he can use. Just don't do anything to cost the team the game. You're playing a depleted Packers. I'm going to go with the Colts winning this one on the road, winning it 23-14, covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under here. I think the Packers are going to have a lot of issues trying to move the ball. Then the next one at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 0-1 New York Jets versus the 0-1 Tennessee Titans. The Jets on the road, 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 41.5. The Jets got shellacked week 1 by the 49ers. Their very first possession, they showed what they could be capable of if Rodgers is hitting everything efficiently. But Rodgers hasn't played in a really long time, practically 2 seasons. He only had 1 possession last season with this team. Then he got hurt. Knocked out. He did not play much of the preseason, so he's pretty rusty, and he's not very familiar with a lot of guys on this team. But the Jets should have a very good defense, a top 10 defense. They did not play like it last week versus the 49ers, but they're a lot better than they played last week. They also have playmakers. They have Breece Hall. They have Garrett Wilson, and Rodgers should be getting better every single week as he gets more comfortable in this system, but also as he kind of knocks some of that dust off. But we did see an older Rodgers last season. He was not very mobile, but perhaps that'll come as he gets a little more comfortable in the scheme. And then you have the Titans. Will Levis obviously had a bad week last week. They have a lot of issues, especially on the defensive side. They have some weapons on the offensive side, but Will Levis, I don't necessarily trust him as the permanent quarterback going forward. I'm going to go with the Jets getting their first win with Rodgers here, winning 23-17. That would be covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 1-0 San Francisco 49ers versus the 1-0 Minnesota Vikings. The 49ers on the road here, 4.5-point favorites. The over-under is 46.5. As we mentioned, the 49ers are coming off of shellacking the Jets. They look solid. This is a very, very talented team. This is probably the best top-to-bottom roster in the entire NFL. Great coaching. You have Purdy, you have McCaffrey, you have Ayuk, you have Debo, Kittle. There's weapons up and down this field. Now, McCaffrey's not supposed to be playing Sunday, but it did not matter in any way whatsoever week 1. They were able to run the ball as if he was playing. Passing game looked great. They have a top 3 defense, a stacked defense. They have a top 3 offense. They have a top 3 defense. They barely lost the Super Bowl last season. They have their sights on getting back to the Super Bowl this year and finally getting that Super Bowl victory. And then you have the Vikings. So the Vikings were able to steal one last week, but they're a pretty beat-up team. Obviously, you have Justin Jefferson. You have Aaron Jones. You have playmakers at running back, wide receiver. The issue's quarterback. J.J. McCarthy did get hurt. He's out for the season. Sam Darnold came in last week. Had a really good week, but I'm not taking that as some permanent fixture going forward. He's Jekyll and Hyde. If he plays good one week, he's going to play bad the next week. He played well last week, so he's due to play bad this week. And who's the defense? He's having to play the 49ers. So things just aren't adding up for me there. So I got to go with the 49ers getting the win on the road, winning this one 27-14, but I'm also going with the under here. I just don't see Darnold being very competitive versus the 49ers. I'm kind of surprised that the spread is this low, but I do have the 49ers winning it. The next matchup we're looking at 1 p.m. on Fox, you have the 1-0 Seattle Seahawks versus the 1-0 New England Patriots. The Seahawks are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 38.5. Both teams got victories week 1. The more surprising one was the Patriots, who were the surprising victory of week 1. No one had them winning that game, but props to them for stealing that win. They had a solid week. For the Seahawks, you have Geno Smith. You have Kenneth Walker, although he's probably not going to play Sunday. He is doubtful as of right now. They have a deep running back room with Charbonnet. They should be able to make up for it there. He's an efficient running back. They have DK Metcalf. They have the weapons. They have a experienced veteran team. For the Patriots, obviously Stevenson had a great game week 1. I'm not going to take that as a permanent thing happening every week going forward, but you can't knock the way they played week 1. They played solid. They got the win. This is a tough game because I could see this game also going 50-50. This is a potential upset game, but I can't imagine the Patriots striking twice back-to-back weeks. So I have to go with Seattle to get the win here, winning this one 23-17 in a very low-scoring, sluggish game. They get the win, though. They cover the spread, and I'm going with the over. If the Patriots steal this one, though, I would not be surprised. That next game at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 0-1 New York Giants versus the 0-1 Washington Commanders. Washington at home, 1.5-point favorites, practically a push. The over-under is 43.5. Vegas doesn't have Washington favored by too much. The Giants looked awful last week. Daniel Jones looked worse than ever. He got that big contract. You're getting zero return on that. At some point, you just have to wonder, when do they pull the plug on the Daniel Jones experiment? It has not worked out in any way whatsoever. But obviously, play him, lose, and you'll just get a very high draft pick next year. So that's probably what they're going for as of this point, because they're not going to be competitive with him. For Washington, yes, they lost, but Daniels looked really good at the quarterback position. He was able to throw the ball. He was running the ball at will. They don't want to have to rely on the running game, though. They don't want him getting hurt. But Washington has weapons. They were actually the number 1 passing team last season. They had a really bad offensive line, but they do have a mobile quarterback. They have weapons there. They just need someone to play the game efficiently, continue building the defense. They have the young quarterback. I have them getting their first win this year, winning this one 23-17. So that would be covering the spread, but I will be going with the under here. The next game we're looking at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 1-0 LA Chargers visiting the 0-1 Carolina Panthers. Chargers on the road, 5-point favorites. The over-under is 39.5. For the Chargers, they have a new coaching staff. You have Harbaugh coming in as the coach. The way the Chargers won last week was a Harbaugh win. They played good defense, and they ran the ball, and they didn't have turnovers. You have Justin Herbert. He has the big contract. He's one of the biggest armed quarterbacks in the NFL. He didn't have to do anything last week. The team was able to play efficiently. They won. That's probably very nice for him to know that he didn't have to go win the game. The team overall, the roster, was able to win it. But if you get into a shootout, he's more than capable of doing it, carrying the load for this team. So the Chargers look like they have a bright future going forward after week 1. For the Panthers, everything's the complete opposite. These teams are going in different directions. Chargers look like they're slowly building up. Panthers look like they don't look any different than last season. They were the worst team in the NFL last year. After 1 week, they again look like the worst team in the NFL this season. Yes, they have Bryce Young. They have Thielen. They have some veterans there, but they can't score points. They can't stop the opposing team from scoring points. I have the Chargers winning this one on the road, 28-17, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. The next one could be a potential really fun game. At 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 0-1 Cleveland Browns versus the 0-1 Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags here at home, 3-point favorites. The over-under is 41.5. If you look at my early predictions video this week on Monday, I actually had the Browns winning this one. They're the underdogs here. I was going with them. They have a top 10 defense. They have Myles Garrett. They have Deshaun Watson. Although he's been playing awful, he's still a quarterback that when he performs well, he has this skill set there. They have playmakers. They have a pretty good wide receiver core. They have a good run game, but that defense travels no matter where you go. Trevor Lawrence was under a lot of pressure week 1 versus the Dolphins. So I saw Myles Garrett getting 1 or 2 sacks this game, them constantly hitting him, them constantly pressuring him. But then the whole news came out with Deshaun Watson. There's videos, there's a lawsuit. He has all this off-the-field stuff going on. And that actually made me flip my pick because I don't know if he's even going to play Sunday. He might play. They haven't said he's not playing, but a lot of people are calling for them to sit him till this investigation's over. So Because of that unknown, I can't go with the Browns. Even though I thought they were going to win this game, I was pulling for the upset. I have to go with the Jags because I know what I'm getting with the Jags. We know who's starting. I'm completely blind with the Browns as of right now. I have the Jags winning this one 23-17, covering the spread, but I'm going with the under. The next game that we're looking at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 0-1 Las Vegas Raiders versus the 0-1 Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore, 9-point favorites here. That's a massive spread for an NFL game. The over-under is 41.5. For the Raiders, you have Pierce. You have a solid team. They had a competitive week 1. You have Gardner Minshew. This team does not have a bad roster at all. They have weapons, Jacobs, good wide receiver core. They have a solid defense. Their biggest issue is the quarterback position. They don't have a main playmaker. Gardner Minshew's not bad at all. He's definitely serviceable. When he plays on, he can light it up 3-4 touchdowns. But if he's off one game, it can be pretty bad. And he's facing a Baltimore Ravens defense that was a top 5 defense last season. They had a top 5 offense last season, a very well-balanced team. They have playmakers everywhere. You have Lamar Jackson, you have Derrick Henry, you have Andrews, you have Likely. There's weapons all over this field. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and a solid defense. They're at home. They barely lost to the Chiefs in week 1. They want to get in the win column here. This is a potential Super Bowl team. They want to get things right. I have the Ravens winning this one at home 30-20, covering that massive spread, and I'm going with the over. Our next matchup could easily turn into a real shootout. At 4:05 p.m. on Fox, we have the 0-1 LA Rams versus the 0-1 Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are the favorite here. They're 1-point favorites here. This game is virtually a push. The over-under is 47.5. Vegas has this being a high-scoring, very close shoot-'em-out game. You have the LA Rams. Obviously, they lost last week, but they lit it up. They were moving the ball. Matt Stafford had a great game. He had that one pick where the guy completely blended into the end zone, but we know who Matt Stafford is. He's a great quarterback, big arm quarterback. He's a gunslinging quarterback. He's going to find weapons. He's not going to panic. He's going to push the ball vertically down the field every single time. They have Williams. They have Cooper Kupp, who's fully healthy, had a great week 1, but Nakua is out. He's one of the best wide receivers in the country. That's a massive loss for the Rams, for a team that loves to push the ball passing down the field. He's not playing. Then you have the Cardinals. Cardinals' defense is atrocious. They're going to give up points. So even with Nakua out, guys are going to be running wide open the whole game. The Cardinals have issues generating a pass rush. Kyler Murray, he had a good week 1. When Kyler Murray's on, he can do a lot of things. He has a great arm, and he scrambles. He likes to run. He's hard to tackle. He's hard to get pressured. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. You have a really solid team. Connor, great running back room. They can do multiple things. The Rams also don't have a good defense. It's better than the Cardinals, but that's still not very good. Arizona will be able to score when they need to score. This game could potentially come down to who has the ball last to end the game in the fourth quarter. I'm going to go with the experienced veteran quarterback. I have the Rams winning this one 27-23, so that spread's not getting covered, and I'm going with the over. But like I said, if the Cardinals get the ball last, they could steal this game also. The next game we're looking at, 4:25 p.m. on CBS, the 1-0 Pittsburgh Steelers versus the 0-1 Denver Broncos. The Steelers on the road, 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 36.5. Pittsburgh's coming to town. You have Tomlin. You have a solid top 10 defense. As I mentioned earlier, defense travels. We know they're going to be bringing a high-quality defense led by Watt into Denver to play the Broncos. You have a little bit of a quarterback carousal. Russell Wilson is still, as of right now, not supposed to be playing Sunday. Justin Fields is supposed to get the start. I think Justin Fields should have been the starter the whole offseason. I think he has the higher ceiling at this point of Russell Wilson's career. He not the same quarterback he was. Justin Fields, to me, can do a lot more for you because of the factor of his legs and his mobility, and he still has the arm to push the ball vertically down the field. For Denver, you have Sean Payton. You had Bo Nix, who had a really bad Week 1 performance, but it's Week 1. He's a true rookie, so you don't want to look too much into that, but that was bad. But he can only get better from there because it was a horrible performance. Denver has some playmakers. They don't have a bad roster, but this is not a deep team by any means. There's no real names that stick out to you, people that are going to be able to compete with the Steelers defense. I got to give the edge to the defense because Denver, their playmakers aren't good enough to compensate, basically. They are at home. That's great. But I have Pittsburgh coming in there winning this one 21-16, covering the spread, and I'm just barely going with the over. Next game, 4:25 p.m. on CBS. This should have been the game of the weekend, but it's not going to be. We have the 0-1 Cincinnati Bengals visiting the 1-0 Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. You have the Chiefs at home. They are the favorites, 6-point favorites. Over-under is 48.5. We know who the Chiefs are. Obviously, they won week 1 versus a very good team versus the Baltimore Ravens. They have Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Rice, Worthy, Pacheco. A very deep team, playmakers up and down the team. Veteran quarterback with Mahomes. They have a top 3 defense. They're at home. The defense is going to be pinning its ears back versus the Bengals. Bengals last week, they were curb stomped. Just like last year, Joe Burrow had a pathetically awful week 1. Same exact way last year started. He had a couple bad games, then started getting better, then got hurt and missed the rest of the season. Well, he started out this year bad. I don't know what's going on with him. He needs to get the boat right. Maybe this is the game, but unfortunately, he's playing a top 3 defense, but he has playmakers. He has a deep wide receiver core led by Chase. They can run the ball. He has a good offensive line. He's a good quarterback himself, and he's beaten Mahomes before, so there's no intimidation factor here. I could see the Bengals getting the upset win here, but after their week 1 performance just being so bad, I have to, in good conscience, go with the Chiefs. I have the Chiefs winning this one 27-20, covering the spread, but I'm going with the under. Our final Sunday night game at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, the 1-0 Chicago Bears versus the 1-0 Houston Texans. Houston, 6.5-point favorites, the over-under 45.5. Chicago, Caleb Williams looked really bad week 1. He said he's going to get better. I cannot see him mimicking that performance from week 1. He has too high of a skill set. Will it fully translate to the NFL? That's yet to be seen. He was the number 1 overall pick. You can see the flashes there. That was a really, really bad week 1 performance, though. He is better than that. Thankfully for him, he has playmakers on this team. This is not a bad Bears roster by any means. They have offensive playmakers. They have defensive playmakers. For Houston, this is one of the best quarterback, running back, wide receiver combos in the entire country. You have C.J. Stroud, great young quarterback. You have weapons in the running game, weapons at wide receiver. C.J. Stroud is going to be able to push the ball down the field. Their defense is average at best, but with C.J. Stroud, Mixon, the wide receivers, they should be able to distribute this ball enough to be able to beat the Bears, get their second win. Expect big things from Houston this year as they potentially seek to get back to the playoffs. I have Houston winning this one 27-23. So not covering the spread, but I will be going with the over. In our final game, the Monday night game at 8:15 p.m. on ESPN, we have the 0-1 Atlanta Falcons coming off of a beatdown versus the 1-0 Philadelphia Eagles coming off of a shoot-'em-out. And we have the Eagles here. They are at home. They are favored by 6.5. The over-under is 47.5. So Vegas does have this being a high-scoring game. When you look at the Falcons, I think they scored 10 points in week 1. That was really bad. This is one of the better offensive rosters in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is a gunslinging quarterback. He looked awful week 1, but he hasn't really played since last year. So he got hurt last year, pretty much set out the whole preseason, and now he's on a new team, new scheme, new teammates, and it showed. He looked awful. Guys weren't open. People didn't know where they were going, but his roster is so talented. He has Algier. He has Bijan Robinson. He has Landon. He has Kyle Pitts. He has weapons at every position that he could need. He just has to distribute the ball, don't have turnovers, and they don't have a bad defense. In this game, we have 2 of the best young running backs. You have Bijan Robinson, and you have Saquon Barkley, who went off for the Eagles last week. He had 3 rushing touchdowns in week 1. The Eagles' offensive roster is loaded. they have so many turnovers because Hurts is Jekyll and Hyde. He will light it up 1 minute, then he fumbles or throws a pick the very next minute. He'll have 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. That's kind of just the player that he's been since the second half of last season. The Eagles, even though they won, they look like the same team from the second half of last year, which was not a good team. That's why they didn't go very far. But the offense is loaded. You have Hurts, Saquon Barkley, you have Smith, you have Brown. There's weapons everywhere. The offensive line's kind of questionable. Defense gives up a lot of points. I could see this game going either way because if the Falcons play up to their potential, I could see a world where the Falcons win. I'm practically split here 50-50, but I've kind of veered more towards 60-40 Eagles winning a potential shootout final possession fourth quarter game. I have the Eagles winning this one 28-23. Not covering the spread, going with the over. I would not be surprised if the Falcons won this game 28-27 because the pieces are there on offense. We just haven't seen it yet develop on the field, but it's only week 2 right now. But that's our breakdown. That's our best bets for week 2 of the NFL season. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments on any of these games, drop them below and I'll respond. Thank you.